Shalom. Hey, welcome to today's teaching. It's Shabbat, and I'll say Shabbat Shalom. I just want to, usually I don't start with the Parashah, today's Torah portion, but you know, you can't not see that today's Torah portion is so applicable to what's going on, to where we are spiritually again. We're at the Red Sea and our back is up against a wall, so to speak, here. And also there's another portion, and that's out of Exodus. So Exodus chapter 2 to Exodus chapter 9. Bulk of verses in there. And then there's a part in Ezekiel. And it's talking about Ezekiel, and it's talking about the whole house of Israel in the last days, and how he's going to gather them from all the four corners and bring them back. These are so on archetypal levels, so absolutely what's going on in the world today. I teach all about what is called the Tree of Life. I teach Jewish, Orthodox, oral Torah. It's a systematic theology. It is what Israel, the prophets, the scribes. This is the tradition, combining the letters with the oral Torah, with an understanding, everything that we can know about God. Unfortunately, most Christians, we don't know what the word is. The word is the 22 letters. This is the word. These letters, along with their vowels and the other components, make words which make worlds. This is how it works. So, and he is in our the Yod He Vav He, which is the God, my eternal Father, my Creator, and of the righteous and of the firstborn in the world, of these words, of the sons of God, of those who will inherit the promises to those. This is where we're at. We are waiting for a Red Sea moment, a splitting, a parting, a power source that is going to get us away from these advancing, really demonic wars that are after us. These very, very malicious people who are really after us this time, but they won't succeed, as they never have. But there's a couple of things we need to do to keep our heads about us, so we can keep our heads above water here. But one of the main things that I have discovered in studying the Hebrew text through our Torah sages is how incredibly systematic this whole word is, and how it can be known, but you really do have to enter in a very narrow way. It is already established, and I've said this so many times. But during the time of Moshe with the story, one of the things that's important to understand in the largest context is, at that time also, these events were happening on a world stage. These were things that were going on in a biblical proportion, which is where we are today. This is people, I talk to people all the time, and it's like, wow, what's going on? This is like, because it's biblical, it's worldwide, it's epic. These things that are affecting us, they're affecting everyone's lives and changing things in such radical ways. So this is why we know that we have gone from fighting at different levels, you know, some low level, you know, just a couple of, you know, what I want to say is, okay, we're fighting huge principalities. We're fighting huge corporate, collective energies, collective legions, principalities over us. And this is there's a lot of, because we need to grasp this. If we had a thorough knowledge of the Tree of Life and understood, because it's depicting all the realms from physicality to spirituality to where our mind and our emotions, our psychology fits in, everything that's going on everywhere, we might have a better hand. But I'm all about unlocking the keys to the kingdom. I have a new board, and I've got all my study aids right here. You know, I'm launching a campaign. Hey, this is my presidential candidate. This is who Bina for president. Okay, this isn't, because Bina represents the highest level of understanding. Our Torah says in Proverbs, get wisdom and get understanding. It's the principal thing. It's the main thing. If you want to live at a high level and stay above the fray, you have to get up to this level of Bina, which on the Tree of Life, so you just know, we're not making, it's right here. It's a Hebrew word, Bina, a bet yod, Nun and a Hey, Bina, it means understanding. There's nothing to make up here, but it has some beautiful and completely, it's like a deep well. You'll never totally understand it all. But what I want to say is, in Moshe's time, the story of Exodus, that played on the world stage. The nations were looking. People were watching to see what was going to happen in this showdown between these master, the pharaohs or the magicians in Pharaoh's court, and then these two guys that come out of nowhere, Moshe and Aaron, saying to the people, we have a higher God. We are appealing to a higher power, and we are going to get ourselves away from you and out of your influence. And obviously, the story, Pharaoh laughed for the longest time. He's like, well, that's not going to happen. I'll just make it even worse for you. You think you're going to get away? Well, okay. And some of the things in the Torah portion are so interesting because, again, as I was saying, there's nothing new under the sun. If a tactic worked then, it's going to work today. And it says that the people under Moshe were like, they were discouraged. It says they had shortness of breath. It's like they just couldn't believe in this hero, this deliverer, in the sense. They were so broken down. Their spirits were broken. They were discouraged. They were in anguish, and they were in physical, financial, psychological bondage through warfare of what the Pharaoh and his had put them under. All right, they were not prospering. Well, I don't want to get too much into the side details here, but everybody knew that Jacob, he went down to Egypt, and that their people multiplied and became a large, actually bordering on becoming a larger demographic people than the like quote unquote the natives in Egypt. All right, and that was part of the problem. But the literature they find now, the writings, there's so many discoveries of ancient texts and discovering how to read them and decipher them, and to the extent that we can trust the scholars. But Ugaritic literature texts they found, and they're from northern Syria. Northern Syria is, northern Damascus, right above. Well, look on your map. I mean, it's northern Syria, so it's next to Israel, and it's up at the top half, where some of the northernmost tribes were. They found literature, but the depiction. See, because I understand the people of Israel, they didn't just go down to Egypt. They have always been migrating. It's one of the interesting things when you really get deep into it. The records of so many migrations of the people of Shem, the people of Israel, the people of Jacob going out into the world. But anyways, they found names of God. Now, these are the names of our Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, because these people took with them their God, all right? He lived amongst nations that had multiple other gods. But some of these names they found are the eternal king, the creator of all living beings. El, the kind, El, the compassionate, El from Elohim, in the top right corner, Elohim, second most major name of God in the text. He's known as Yahweh Elohim. The combined gives us the tetragrammaton, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. These four letters combined to give us some of the deepest. This is what simplicity breeds unbelievable complexity. All right, but some of the bull. I mean, they found it a reference to here the high God being known as the bull, the Hebrew letter Aleph, which everybody will tell you on quote unquote Hebrews for Christians that Aleph means ox head, and it means the head. It means the leader. Well, this is a very accurate ancient depiction of our Elohim. And the ageless one. That's another one. He is the father of years. He is depicted as bearded, residing in a tent or a tabernacle, and whose throne rests on cherubim. Obviously, not here physically on earth. Cherubim, those are angelic beings. Everybody knows that. He's a God of blessing and of covenant. So this whole story of what was going on in Egypt was being watched and monitored, and people had a lot of stake in it. And this was high stake stuff. Whose God was going to win this, so to speak, spiritual battle? And we are there again today, but we need to trust the plan. Now, if I said you here today, the trust the plan. That's sort of like a little cryptic phrase the faithful throw out to each other. And we're meaning more in a political sense, but ultimately, we need to keep our eyes, when you say keep your eyes on the Lord, Adonai, Yod-Heh, Vav-Heh, you are trusting the plan of salvation that is even greater. There is promise to us in Exodus from this fallen world that will take us into our quote unquote promised land where we will live forever in harmony with our God and the knowledge of him and his ways and his rule, his authority. He's going to cover the earth as the waters cover the sea, and it's going to produce this incredible paradise on earth again. So this is a plan, you know, we need to trust, but we are here at the Red Sea, you're back against the wall, and we need this miracle. But I want to show you without having an understanding, see, of the keys. And this is why I'm really at the point where I'm really ready now. And I encourage people, go to my YouTube. Again, I have a couple other videos describing these keys to the kingdom teachings that I'm doing. They're very reasonably priced. I'm doing a 6 modular, so I'm going to do 6 classes, unpack, and move on to the next group of keys, so to speak. But these, if you don't have these keys, you cannot correctly decipher the text. This is what Yeshua says. The deeper level meanings, these things are hidden from you. You can't, and you, in the worst thing you can do is just make something up, which is what the nations, you know, are always doing. And that is why their religious understandings, while has a lot of similarities, does not ultimately reflect. All right. Now, let me say this and give you an example. All right, why keys are so important and why understanding this ancient people, the tree of life, when they say that the Father cut off the entrance to the tree of life. Literally, you can put it's down here, Yesod, the flaming sword, the angel, the cherubim. This is a real thing that's going on in a metaphysical sense, really right down here, and you can know it and understand it, and it makes perfect biblical sense, and it's in the letters, it's in the text. But be that as it may, this whole, no, I don't want to get, let me stay on my linear track here. Today's Parsha, some of these keys were used. And I thought if you didn't really understand it, there's a lot of in the story that you would miss. But one of the things he talks about is the people, again, were not ready to rise up and cheer Moshe and like, wow, let's do this with you. You know, they had shortness of breath. They were in such deep anguish. Their spirits had been broken. They had been, and this is how so many people feel today, and why so many people, we have a real spiritual disadvantage right now, because this is planned. This doesn't just happen by an accident. One of my main message I want you to, we have to wake up to the fact that, oh, this is so real now because of the events over the last 2 weeks, that the wicked plot and plan against the righteous. We are just way too innocent. I mean, the trap that so many righteous people were subjected to, and now over events in our nation's capital over 2 weeks ago. But well, maybe it's only a week and a half, whatever. But having the purpose, this level of psychological warfare on such a mass scale was being done by Pharaoh. And now we hear again, Pharaoh, let me say this, is an archetype. Yes, there was a real ruler, and that's at a Pashat level. And if you want to spend all your time trying to hunt him down, whatever, have at it. But the point is, in deeper levels, where was his source of operation coming from? Where did he get his power to do this over God's people? And what is he a deeper archetype of? Because a key, initially, you have to get back to the original archetype. All right? And what Pharaoh is an archetype for other gods, but one of the high gods. He is definitely, without getting too, he's known as the angel. All right, I want to try to keep it really simple and really linear. Pharaoh is a code word for high fallen angelic entities, which, let me say this too, these guys don't operate alone. There's no rogue. They're large cabals, large ecosystems of intelligent collective legions of very negative energies that are called principalities, that are very have great power and ability to literally manifest in the physical. And this is bringing to my next point with Pharaoh, with the showdown when Aaron turned his rod into a sea serpent, what was going on? And then Pharaoh's magicians countered back. All right, so let me unplug that. But we need to understand that the Pharaoh has over him a lot of resources, okay? And he's not fully convinced that with Moshe and Aaron that he's really dealing with, and he is actually so delusional that he doesn't really buy into the concept of the Most High God, of how it says in some of the text, you know, he is the creator of all living beings. These other gods are living beings. All right. Now, the other thing is when they get into it says that they, because of painful thorns and sharp briars, or maybe it's sharp thorns and painful briars, they're all cut up. They're like, okay, but see, this is a key. This is how the text, these are allegories, but they're so accurate. But they're really referring, and it says it in the text, that these are malicious people. These are what I call them God haters, God deniers, God rejectors. All right. They just don't want to live the peaceable life that we can all have by obeying Torah. All right. This is what we're dealing with. All right. Now, no one is advocating violence or these, but history tells us that things can escalate. Energy, word, things have power, there's force behind them. They can escalate. All right. And this is why we need to be so careful today, because the trap is to cause civil war, to escalate to this thing to the point where there is no more peaceable transition or way to deal with it. And we have to really, really, really be careful. But this, if we could wake up, because what's being used on us, and this is what Pharaoh used, and this is what it took, this encounter of Aaron and Moshe exhibiting a power from a higher, that finally convinced Pharaoh that the contest, he wasn't going to win, that he acknowledged, yes, okay, I get it. All right, letting your people go. Because this is where, but at the end of the age, with the same thing, the cry is from these demonic fallen principalities that have really kept us, that we need to say, no, the Father said, let my people go so that we can come out and worship him. We are free people, and we have every right to worship our God in complete freedom. And we built a governmental system with a constitution, and based on Torah law, if people would do it, that we can do that. And that's what made America great. That is what makes us great. If we get back on our foundation, we will exhibit for the whole world just an unbelievable blessed lifestyle, which leads to a blessed nation. All right. Now, but the thing that has to be understood is these are weapons of warfare. These are psychological sorceries that are being unleashed on us that have been used. I mean, Hitler used, I mean, this is nothing new under the sun, but again, in the time of Pharaoh, because again, there was an absolute, well, you know, all things were together, but the Father wanted to display his glory, his power amongst these nations. How these nations got to be under the 70 gods is a whole story. It's another whole teaching. I have some on my YouTube, but I don't want to go into that. The point is, today, here we are again. And we need to break the power that these principalities have, especially the prince of the power of the airwaves, where they're trying to literally shut our mouth. I mean, it started with a mass, people, everything you have to understand, symbols are everything. If I just finish my point, I'm going to get to showing you the greatest symbol, all right? But this is what's wrong with this whole thing. We're not making the connections that the ancients truly understood, because they did not deny the spiritual kingdoms and the spiritual influences and the spiritual rulers and the higher that's going on, all right? They were all about the gods and the high. I mean, they totally got it, all right? And that's why when we read their literature, we're like, the gods of, you know, over Egypt and over Rome and these pantheons. See, because I just want to say, this leads to polytheistic a worldview. This is a monotheistic. This is the point. You either have many ways of pleasing or you have one. And we are under, and I'll get, it's always too much to say. When a sorcery, and I use this word, think of it, mind control. Think of it as psychological warfare. Think of it as your enemy trying to take you out on a mass scale. Because we're not talking about, we all have stuff that happens to us individually that only affects us personally or our family or, maybe our time. But we're talking about when these things get global, okay? You're playing with the big boys. But this advanced level of mind control, this is what like Balaam was trying as a chief magician in his generation. He was one of the most wicked. You should read the literature, what they have, the goods they have on these. There's a reason why these people are in our text, because they are such great archetypes of something. People, the true magicians who can manipulate nature, and Elohim can manipulate and cause great harm and devastation and bloodshed and all this kind of thing, because there is power behind these energies. They're intelligent and they have power. Now, if they push at you, this is the law of nature. This is what I think one of the laws of thermodynamics. If they push at you with their energy and you don't push back, if there's no resistance, that translates in reality after just a certain point into that silence connotes consent. So in other words, if you don't push back, you have consented and you are carried away with that. And when you lose that much ground, like we're losing it, it's going to be very hard to get it back. But this is why with the mass, it's very archetypally telling us what's going on on many, many levels. The principle, it's not an accident that we started wearing masks months ago, and here we are in total propaganda warfare where they're trying to shut down literally free speech or any speech contrary to their narrative. It's not an accident, because there are laws. They know these laws. You can use, they're tested unless the people that resist, rise up, O man, resist the devil and he will flee. But part of us is we become so short of breath. Our ruach, our spirit, we're so tired, we're traumatized, we're fractured. We have no power. There's so many levels for, our bodies are attacked, our souls are attacked, our minds are attacked constantly. All right. So we are not at the top of our game. Okay. But this is a problem, because if there's a lot between the silence of not saying anything, of just taking it, and then listening to all of their God denying and God, solutions for things. Silence and a meaningful lack of action or resistance constitutes consent or your new reality. That's how they get away with it, people. This is what's going on. The Father is raising up his people who will fight. We have to fight the good fight, especially in our generation, for our, on the level now fighting for our country, what we were founded on, this Torah-based government that if people would get with its pride, people can have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and live under great blessing and abundance. Trump's not making it up. These are biblical principles that work. You will get blessed or you will get cursed. All right. Now, this is a very important, because we have now a cryptocurrency. I think I'm saying this, crypto democracy, cryptocracy. Oh, I can't even say this word. Forget it. But it is really, it's a word I found, and then it really means like the deep state. There is a form of government where the real leaders are hidden or unknown. This is part of the problem. These intelligences, and even if they totally are possessing, and they can do this, the whole point of people, they're still going to remain hidden, occulted behind the scenes, because that is their modus operandi. Because the Torah tells us that they're their soul level is drawing power from a place of, this is why they use the word vipers, lizards, serpents, dragons, and this is where we get to the word sea dragon. Part of in the Parsha talks about how Aaron was told by them to cast down his rod and make it into a sea serpent, all right? And then the Pharaoh's master magicians cast their rods down and made sea serpents. Okay, so let's go to kindergarten here. What are sea serpents, all right? They are calling down, because we're talking now, we're beginning, Pharaoh goaded them. If you read the story really quick, closely, he goaded them. He said, oh, you think you got this big high God bigger than me? Show me a miracle. Give me a demonstration of the Spirit's power. Okay, and so Aaron did. He made a sea serpent. He brought forward a whole angelic, the best angel, force. And then the magicians did the same, but then it turned around and Aaron's, because let me say this, it's from the root word tannin. You gotta look at the Hebrew word. It is one of the 6 races that of living entities of angelic orders that were made in the 5th and the 6th day. Doing some deep intel here, but one of them is tannin, which is dragons, which the tan is the word that's interpreted. It's never really interpreted. We never really, because the translations are so bad, because at this point we didn't even know what we're translating. These sea serpents made on the 5th day, but these are, and I don't want to give away my best intel, but they're a problem. Okay, there's good and there's bad on this side. We're on the left side, the tree of life, where evil is, and they're part of the clipper. There are good sea serpents and there are bad sea serpents. There's good and on the side, and Moshe and Aaron's angelic host, sea serpent, swallowed up the ones of Pharaoh. So, I mean, right there, big tip off Pharaoh. Yeah, and this is how Pharaoh started to listen to Moshe and Aaron. Well, maybe we're not dealing with some yahoos here. Maybe, okay, and he knew who Pharaoh was. I mean, Pharaoh knew who Moshe was. The whole story. He knew he grew up in the courts of Egypt, and he had deep knowledge of these levels. This is what we need. See, when deep state, we're talking about the government, we're talking about not just the government does this, but hidden. We know this now from some of the main players, these billionaires, these rich Kabbalah. They spend buku bucks to hone to figure out ways to use these tried and true psychological, physical, and weapons on us. And we have to really get on top of our game. But my point is that we have to resist. We have to dig into the Father. And Moshe, the people of Elohim, yes, even though they were at the Red Sea and it didn't look good in the story, Moshe was able to press in, and he was able to produce the power through Yahweh Elohim to part the seas. And this is really, on one level, it's very allegorical how we are talking about getting these intelligent collective energies off our back. All right. And that will translate down immediately into physicality. But all according to the Torah, everything begins in the mind. And that's why psychological warfare, mental warfare, this is what the battle is always in the mind. So this is why it's, do not be discouraged. Heed your Elohim. He will, all of these admonitions, we have to trust the plan. This is very important, because one of the separate is this idea of endurance, of victory, of you got to stand your ground. You have to wait and see the salvation of our God. And this is a very important thing, and sort of where we are right now. But I didn't want to get too much into this. I just want to say I'm just absolutely blown away by the Torah portion and where we are today. But what I want to say, why is it so important to understand the tree of life in an Orthodox Hebraic way? I don't care if the occultists have stolen it and perverted it and profaned it. They will pay for their sins, but it's time for Ephraim and Judah to rise up and take back their inheritance and clean it up and present it to the nations. because it's guaranteed to be the light. All right, but I digress. Let me do this real quick. I want to show you a pictograph, something that is very familiar to everyone, and where it comes from. And why, if you have the keys, if you have the foundation that was laid, you'll be okay. And when the doctrine comes up, or whatever new perversion or twisting or profaning that the enemy wants to do against the truth, you'll be on solid ground, because you'll have the archetype. You'll have the tree of life archetype, okay? Now, this Star of David, you're probably wondering, what is she doing with all these, okay? Let's not be afraid. The Star of David. Oh, you can go out there online. There'll be all this, oh, it's occultic, it's evil, it's a sign of the devil, of Lucifer. I mean, come on, people, you just, the blind leading the blind. This is an established ancient emblem. It's called the Star of David for a reason. But it comes from the tree of life. This motif is pulled 100% from a portion of this diagram. So make no mistake, it's Hebraic. We're talking, these four corners, which is one of the way the Bible translates them, are known as the four corners, the four principalities, the four winds. There's a lot of names, but it's really in our highest level onto these four separate. Okay. Now, let me just say this because it's right. This, the tree of life, which we're getting grafted back into, so we might as well learn now what we can, is also called, just like I said, the 32 paths of wisdom in Hebraic, PaRDeS, I guess that's her, paths of wisdom. Wisdom, again, refers to Chokmah and Bina. I've been through so refers to wisdom and understanding, the highest level that our mind that we can get to, where we can understand or know God. It is a place of revelation. All right. It's a place of understanding where you got to get, so you get above the fray. All right. But let me say this, where they get 32, because this whole tree of life is made up of, it's so simple, 10 separate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This has a special meaning. I won't get into that. 10 separate. So let's just do the math. We got 10 separate, and we've got what? And it's 22 letters. Because if you look at a chart, I'm sorry that I talk fast. It's got all the letters. It's got all the 22 letters. So just do the math. 10 and 22 equals 32. I mean, that was really tough, right? That is actually how incredibly systematic it is. All of the the letters within them have, they're a consonant, they're a picture, they have a shape to them. That forms the writing. They have a number. There's a number to each letter. So you come up with math, and this is important. And there is a record of it. There is a vibration. When I say a word, there's a sound. So every letter and every is made up of it's pictograph, it's visual, it's sound, and it's numerical value. Bottom line, basic. All right. So let me say this. Back to the Star of David. So if I were to take these four separate, which I said which they are, and by the way, where I have this, see the broken dotted lines, is exactly this. And I'm going to draw this for you and show you how they did it. And this is called a Mahon. If you're familiar with the Amidah, one of the most ancient Jewish prayers, high-level spiritual prayer, it talks about in the very beginning, Yod He Lav He. He is our Melech. He's our King. He's our Osir, meaning he's our helper. He is our Mashiach. He is our Savior. And he is our Megan, our shield. Shield. The Star of David is our shield. It's our Megan. He is a shield around us. All right. There's a way in which he is that. He does that. It's not just pictorial to be pictorial. All right. So you put these like this. I don't know how straight I am on everything. Okay, there are two other points. Now, the reason why, and I'm going to do the difference between the Star of David and the pentagram. The pentagram is a five-sided symbol or shield, but it is not, it totally makes a different shape because it has a different root system, has different geometric points to it. If you take the middle pillar, see this here? This is why in the text, this is called the middle pillar. This is Mashiach. This is the spine. This is the, it's the balance. Everything goes through here, the middle pillar. Okay, you take the spine out of the body, you don't have a body, you have a heap on the floor. All right, it has a right side and a left side. It has a the middle pillar. It has the side, a left pillar and a right pillar. That's what it's talking about. Those words are referencing positional relationships on the tree of life. And the archetype, that's the archetype. The archetype never changes. The human body, a macrocosm, we're made in the image of Elohim. I got right hand extremities, left hand extremities, arms. I have legs, but I have a spine. I have a torso. I have a middle pillar. Okay, and that's by these. If you took the middle pillar, the 2 points from here and here, and we put them here. All right, I took this one here, Doc, like I told you. I can't go into this right now, but trust me, it's there for a very reason. Now, if we were to diagram this, these sephirah, okay, which is known as Zeron Pin, that's one of the Hebraic words given to this whole concept. It's also known as the Vav in Yod Hey Vav Hey. It's also known as the sun, S-O-N. But if you were to take this and diagram it, like, okay, we're going to connect these two, which they are connected. Aleph, you see these lines here. There's a connecting line here and a connecting line here. This is an Aleph. This is a Mem. Total reason for it. But anyways, if we were to do the geometry from this, and if we were to connect these two, remember, it's as above, so below. So let's just say this line is above, right? It is. It's above this one. So to connect it down here, you would, obviously with straighter lines in a better way, we connect that down here. That is as below. What's above is going to be playing out down here below. What's below, well, here, actually, I didn't need to take that. What's below, you connect it to what's above. You have this you have this star. And then you take this. This is Tiferet. This is the throne. This is, in the world of Berea, this is the throne room. All right, right in the center, the hub, the wheel, the spoke, the center. All right, that makes a Star of David that is pulled from here. This Sephiritic collective intelligent on the good side, this is the shield, the Magen of David. Totally Orthodox biblical, and this is my shield. And I'll tell you what, when you understand what's in here, you will never be afraid. Greater is he that is in us and he that is for us than he that's not. I mean, totally. Because, okay, so we have a Star of David. A pentagram, they have no leg to stand on. They are totally not using the middle pillar. That's why you get a 5-pointed. They just start in chaos. All right, you have, let's try to make a better line. It goes here. Oh, maybe it's the marker right now for a second. If you just start to take a point, equidistance trying to do this, that's what you get. But you can't make a straight line. You can't make a middle pillar through there, through that geometry. It's chaos. It's just using the system, but it's not going to produce. It is not the shield of David. Okay, people, if we knew the resources and what our Father's trying to tell us, why do we listen to this stuff? Why do we allow them to grade There are cultic images all over us. And why do we let them talk us out of what is our inheritance? So this is why, in my opinion, it's vital to know now. This is why it's being released. The Father's raising up teachers. I've been 9 years at this and I'm ready to impart what I believe is accurate information, understanding, knowledge of the heavens. But it starts with this, and we need to, this is the meat of the word. We're ready for it. We need it. And the Father is pouring out his Spirit now on all flesh, all the nations. And this next, he says that when he takes his people out of the bondage, which now we are, which is sort of like a worldwide bondage, we're dealing now not just with one Pharaoh, but we're getting down to, trying to figure from all the gods. This is what Armageddon is. Remember, our Mashiach comes and the God in Armageddon, and there's, all right, you gotta see this thing for what it is, but there really is no contest. But we are at the end of an age, and it says that when he delivers us, his people, trust the plan, when he delivers us, it will make what happened in the Exodus look like child's play in terms of a power demonstration. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how, in the Torah, how to resist, how to push back this darkness, and how to unmuzzle our mouth. We have to pay the price, and we will have the victory. And so these are very exciting times to live in. So on my links, I think it's time to like this page. Who knows what's going to happen with these platforms in the next couple weeks or whatever, we'll see. But like, subscribe, share, and sign up on for my classes. I have the website, theelectlife.com, and my Facebook page, The Elect Life, on Facebook, where you can also message me. So enjoy your Parsha today. Enjoy your Shabbat. We do have peace through our Savior, Shar Shalom, the Prince of Peace. See you next time.